The San Fernando Teaching Hospital, Chancery Lane. Construction of the Chancery Lane Administrative Complex began in July 2005 and was originally built to accommodate commercial office space, retail and parking. This building stands adjacent to the San Fernando General Hospital. The San Fernando General Hospital was built in 1954 and is one of this country's main healthcare institutions. This decades-old 650-bed facility currently serves the population of the entire South Trinidad, numbering approximately 600,000 citizens, and is charged with the responsibility of providing all levels of health care. On a site visit to the then Chancery Lane Administrative Complex on August 23, 2011, the Honorable Prime Minister, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, mandated that UDCOT work in conjunction with the Ministry of Health and the Southwest Regional Health Authority, under whose purview the San Fernando General Hospital falls, to examine ways the adjacent Chancery Lane Administrative Complex could be repurposed as a hospital facility. The retrofit of the base building structure of the Chancery Lane Administrative Complex as an extension to the neighboring General Hospital will provide additional healthcare space with the latest modern equipment and will permit the SWRHA to better fulfill its mandate as a provider of healthcare services to the population of South Trinidad. Close and detailed collaboration between UDCOT, the Ministry of Health and the SWRHA has borne much fruit, which has ensured success in the transformation of the Chancery Lane Administrative Complex into the new San Fernando Teaching Hospital. Some of the services which will be offered at this new healthcare facility include X-rays, ECGs, echocardiography which provides sonograms of the heart, EEGs, electroencephalography for measuring brain activity, EMGs, electromyography for detecting neuromuscular disorders, urology testing, ultrasounds, pediatrics, gynecological care. Doctors will be on-site 24/7 as dedicated accommodations for doctors have been built, what we refer to as doctors' on-call rooms. Some of the modern medical features at the new San Fernando Teaching Hospital include medical vinyl which traps and kills bacteria, mold, etc., so these cannot multiply or grow. Ceiling tiles which absorb dust particles. Fixtures will be supported off the wall rather than being mounted from the ground, which will facilitate easy cleaning and access beneath the fixtures. The San Fernando Teaching Hospital was built to various North American and internationally accepted codes: AIA FGI, ASHRAE, NFPA 99, NFPA 101, JCAHO, OSHA, TTS 171 Part 1 2002, TTS 171 Part 2 2002, NFPA 70 2011, IEEE Standard 142, IEEE Standard 602, IES, CP 326, ASHRAE 62, SMACNA, TT Plumbing Code, NFPA 13. These works are being performed in two main phases. A. The adaptive reuse of the Chancery Lane Administrative Complex as an extension of the existing hospital due to its proximity to the hospital site, providing an additional 216 beds, bringing the number of available beds to approximately 866. Phase B. The renovation and modernization of the San Fernando General Hospital. This will be part of the master plan. Following a competitive bid process, UDCOT engaged S&P Architects, a firm of expert healthcare architects from the United Kingdom. Their fourth quarter 2011 report stated that the adaptive reuse of the office building was in fact feasible. Subsequently, the Austrian government proposed to finance, construct and outfit the project via a government-to-government arrangement. One of Austria's major healthcare expert companies, VAMID, was selected by the government of Austria to lead the transformation from office space to this 216 inpatient bed facility. Some highlights of the arrangement include, but are not limited to, Technology transfer with 99% of the labor force on this project being locals, at maximum 500 locals on site. Project management, construction supervision, turnkey delivery of hospitals and other buildings in the health sector. Maintenance of medical technical devices. Training, institutional strengthening. Long-term financing. Opportunity for partnering with local firms in the construction industry. The facility has been designed, constructed and outfitted to North American standards. The San Fernando Teaching Hospital has a total usable space of 368,725 square feet. Lower sections of the building. Level 2, University of the West Indies, offices, library and public access. Level 3, retail, cafe, discharge and multi-faith room. Level 4 North, children's outpatient. Mother and Child, Porter Services. Level 5, Functional Diagnostics. Doctors' on-call rooms. Level 6, Adult Outpatients. Level 7, Car Parking, no clinical access. Level 8, Administration. Levels 3 to 7 South, 167 parking spots in the main building. Levels 4 to 7, 400 parking spots in the car park expansion adjacent to the main building. The main tower section of the building, levels 9 to 12, pediatric wards, levels 13 to 17, adult wards. Level 18, Administration. Phase 2, renovation and modernization of the San Fernando General Hospital. On completion of this project, works would commence on the existing San Fernando General Hospital in an effort to improve its standards of healthcare services that would be offered to the public. In conclusion, patients, doctors and nurses as well as family and friends of those admitted to the new state-of-the-art hospital will benefit tremendously from this extension to the existing San Fernando General Hospital. The San Fernando Teaching Hospital will provide a modern and more conducive environment for the efficient and timely delivery of crucial medical and health care and will ensure much needed support and ultimately fulfill its mandate as a healthcare provider for San Fernando and its environs.
They were never legitimate emails. So you could not have traced what was given to what was there in the account because it was never provided. It was never there. It was something that was typed out by someone.
The facts about Emailgate are clear. The then opposition leader Keith Rowley came to the Parliament in May 2013 and accused then Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisesa of conspiracy.
This email, also under the heading urgent, to Captain Gary Griffith at hotmail.com from whoever anan@gmail.com is. He says something is not right with that. She knows too much.
The opposition leader reading excerpts from an email he alleged was in reference to a Guardian newspaper reporter who broke the story on the early proclamation of Section 34. Dr. Rowley said this was one of 31 emails written over a 17-day period last September he received from a whistleblower.
Does she drive? Walk? Do you know her movements? And it says, we have a problem. Things are getting heated. We need access to taps in the DPP office.
The then opposition leader Keith Rowley came to the parliament and accused Kamla Persad-Bissessar of conspiracy to commit murder, all under the guise of parliamentary privilege. What is parliamentary privilege, you might ask? Well, it's a license to say whatever you want and has no civil or criminal liability for the statements you make.
What I'm required to do is to use the protection of the privilege of Parliament, and who it offends too bad for them.
It's legal immunity from prosecution for slander. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar sat and listened to the accuser and then sent all of the printed emails to the Commissioner of Police for investigation, took her computer and her mobile phone to the police for inspection, requested that Google make public if the emails were real, and opened herself to a second investigation by the Integrity Commission. Today, however, the police investigation, the Integrity Commission, and even Google have said that the emails produced by Dr. Rowley are fake. And according to Orville London, the then deputy leader of the PNM and THA chief secretary, he said that Dr. Rowley would pay the price if his information is wrong. London declared the emails are earth-shattering and must be resolved. This is the big one. This is a game decider. And at the end of the exercise, there would only be one man or one woman standing. Today, Kamla has been vindicated, and as such, the only one standing. Senior counsel Israel Khan is quoted as saying that Emailgate was a diabolical and sinister plot to assassinate the character of the former Prime Minister.
Now that the acting Commissioner of Police
yes,
has indicated that she has been cleared. She has been cleared about 4 years ago. What has happened? They wanted her to go into an election with this thing hanging over her head. It affected her the poll.
Sound checking for sound. Natural name. You hearing me good now? Check. 1, 2. 1, 2. Mic check 1, 2. 1, 2. Checking for sound. Sound check 1, 2. 1, 2.
okay, take it out. Take it out.
Sound check 1, 2. 1, 2. Sound check 1, 2. 1, 2. Checking for sound. Sure. Sound check 1, 2. 1, 2. Mic check 1, 2. Checking for sound. Sound check 1, 2. 1, 2. Checking for sound. 1, 2. 1, 2. How is sounding? Nice, too bad. Two, 1, 2. Mic check 1, 2. Sound and better?
Sound one. Sound one. 1, 1, 1. Sound one. 1, 1. Sound check 1. It have a little reverb on it. Or echo. The acoustics. Huh? One.
Sound check 1, 1, 1.
One, two, 1, 2. Four. Sound 1, 2.
Sound check 1, 2, 1, 2. Checking for sound. Sound check 1, 2, 1, 2. Twenty 19. Is that better, sir? Talk to me, Wilfred. Underwater. check 1, 2. Checking for sound. How we sounding?
Huh? So better?
Checking for sound.
Sound check 1, 1. Check 1 2. Check 1. Sound check 1 1. pleasant good afternoon to you viewers outside there. Welcome to the UNC live stream from the constituency of Mayaro for the pavement report from Mayaro. We are live on 3 frequencies this afternoon. You are watching us on Facebook Live right now. You can also view us at unctt.org. To view from unctt.org, you could go straight to the party's website, or you could download the UNC app. For those of you who have the Apple phones, you could download it from the Apple Play Store. So, this afternoon, pavement report from Mayaro. We are live at the Rio Claro Presbyterian School, and there's a battery. Now, every meeting I keep saying a battery of powerful speakers, but indeed, that is what we have here tonight. Tonight, you will hear from the Honorable MP, Rushton Parry. The Honorable Rushton Parry, together with some of his parliamentary colleagues. I see on the pavement in Mayaro here, I'm seeing the MP from Kumuto Manzanilla, Rudy Endarsing, the MP from Couva North, and of course the original pavement man who this program is named after. Yes, you guessed it, the Honorable Rudy Munilal. Also this afternoon we'd have former Minister of Energy Kevin Ramnarine, and making his debut on the pavement this afternoon. Stay tuned for Attorney Larry Lala. So, a powerful battery of speakers. So in the meantime, while we are waiting, this meeting should be starting in a couple minutes time. What we would like you to do is, of course, as I always say this, I know the meeting is starting 7 o'clock and the other news is starting 7 o'clock, but here you will get the real news, right? And as President of America say, mainstream fake news. Here you're getting it live and direct without the speaker's intervention. So we'd like you to share this live, build it up. You can't afford to let your friends miss this powerful lineup of speakers, right? 4 MPs, right? I'll call those hard-hitting MPs, right? We have Honorable Christine Newallo from Kumuto Manzanilla. We have former Labor Minister and Minister in the Ministry of Finance, MP for Couva South, Rudy Endarsing. We also have, as I say, the original pavement man, and for some reason, anytime this man speaks, we get maximum viewership. The original pavement man himself, always with some bombshell, and expect some bombshell this afternoon, right? Sedition act or not, he speaks his mind. The Honorable MP from Oropuch East, Rudy Munilal. Of course, the guest and the star speaker tonight will be the MP from Mayaro, the Honorable Rushton Parry, right? And as I said, you know, there's a lot of secrecy involved, a lot of information you do not have. As a matter of fact, the information coming out from the government itself. We hear one version from the Minister of Energy. We hear, all right, making sure I'm not walking out of the frame. We hear one version from the Minister of Energy, and in the same news conference, you hear a different thing from the Minister of Finance. And then you will see Mr. King Liar himself. I ain't calling no name, but Mr. King Liar himself will come in and have a different spin on this thing. And the thing is, their facts do not add up. Their facts do not show. They say one thing one time, they say something else this time. And we have the videos, and we show you the videos, right? Our editors carefully put together these videos to show you that much that comes out from the government, official information, is not only half-truths, but downright lies. So this afternoon, from the pavements of Mayaro, you could hear the facts from a former energy minister, right? Another energy minister where, as it currently exists, we have a Minister of Energy, but it have a Chinese man that's be going around making all the announcements and all the negotiations. Imagine the Minister of Energy went to do negotiations at an international multi-corporation, and we have this Chinese Minister of everything shaking hand and signing, right? So the Minister of Energy, the government doesn't even have confidence in their own Minister of Energy. So this afternoon you're going to hear from a real Minister of Energy, a very knowledgeable man, a man qualified in the field. So stay tuned for the pavement report. You will hear from the Honorable, well, yes, still Honorable Kevin Ramnarine, because the man is knowledgeable. He knows, and when you hear him this afternoon, he will paint a real picture as to what pertains in the energy industry, which is very important for an economy in Trinidad. Anything to do with energy, because we are basically energy based, right? Though of course the UNC have plans and had put things in place to diversify the economy, but you cannot get away from the fact that the energy industry is very important. And they have a man smiling, and he smiled because he probably just didn't know anything, right? And as I said, making his debut on the pavement this afternoon would be but you know, I could bring any lawyer from the UNC, and I shouldn't say that because that's something like Rowley, UNC lawyers, and I don't know what he means by what is a UNC lawyer, but I could bring any lawyer, even a law student, right? And they may be better than what passes off for an attorney general. I cannot understand how it is Mr. Rowley could tolerate this excuse for an attorney general. But you would hear from, and you know, all of the attorneys associated with the UNC could be an attorney general, you know. But making his debut on the pavement report would be a very prominent and very knowledgeable lawyer, Larry Lala. So stay tuned, right? He's making his debut. And yeah, sure, you go ahead. Yeah, you go ahead. Right? So we'll be starting. I see the man of business in my arrow here is getting ready to start. What we would like you to do in the meantime, so you can go ahead, you know. Right, so as you hear house announcement, things getting in order, and I would like you to start getting things in order. Make sure we cross the 10,000 mark, right? So I see my editor is calling in, so until the program starts, stay tuned for pavement report from my arrow. Check. Sound. Check. Right, one-man operation. Forget to turn on the camera. Yeah. So, I know you heard everything I said. Now you're seeing the video. You're seeing me? Right? Well, basically, United National Congress live stream from the constituency of Mayaro. We have a very powerful, powerful lineup of speakers here this afternoon. Right? On the pavement. Right? We have the feature speaker, the Honorable MP for Mayaro, Rushton Parry. We have the original pavement man himself, who has created this program. The man that the Prime Minister would like to meet on the pavement. We bring down the whole of Parliament on the pavement and nothing doing. But they will continue to speak. Yes. Also, we have the MP from Komuto Manzanilla, the Honorable Christine Newallo. We have the MP from Kuva South, Rudy and Dar Singh. And we have two senators. I tell you, it's like the whole parliament down here this afternoon. We have Senator Obika. I don't try to pronounce his first name. I understand Senator Anita Haynes will be here tonight. And a real Minister of Energy, Honorable Kevin Ramnarine will be gracing you here from the pavement of Mayaro, right? And as I was saying just now, without my video, right? A real Minister of Energy, compared to what it have passing off as a Minister of Energy right now, it is something else, right? That Minister of Energy, his own Prime Minister doesn't even have confidence in him. When they're going to the multinational corporations to do the little negotiations and things, he just carry the Chinese man, right? Who does be actually meeting. I don't know if this, what they be doing is called negotiating. Because when they're negotiating, you see they dancing in conga line and all kind of thing, right? I find I always ball this right. I cannot cut out this right. Yeah. So you'll be hearing from a real Minister of Energy, a man that is knowledgeable. And as I was saying without the video there just now, the energy industry in Trinidad is very important to our economy. And they have a man that they don't even have confidence in, right? Their Minister of Energy, right? Because not even his press releases has been accurate. And he's a little cantankerous fellow. I was watching a video where he's saying the UNC was building a highway to Penal, right? For their people. And I don't understand where's their people. I don't know if the UNC have their people and they have their people. But as far as the UNC is concerned, all of the people in Trinidad is their people, right? Anyhow, so on our platform, as I was saying, making his debut on the pavements of Mayaro would be an attorney, and any attorney from the UNC would be better. I can't even compare our attorneys, because that person they have as an attorney general is really an embarrassment to the legal fraternity, you know. An embarrassment. I don't understand how the Law Association does tolerate and haven't called for that man who is their head to kind of really vacate. Anyhow, the attorney on the pavement here this afternoon is Larry Lala, making his debut. So that powerful lineup of speakers, you cannot afford to not tune in, and not only tune in, make sure you share the live around. Make sure we cross over 20,000 viewers tonight, right? Because this afternoon promises to be a really hard hitting, and I'm seeing all the MPs, right? Looking as if we have parliament down here, right? So it's a very, very powerful lineup of speakers. So get ready. I will be taking you across to the pavements in Mayaro for the Mayaro edition of Pavement Report.
kindly remain standing as we invoke the presence of the divine and invite Alderman Mr. Ramkisoon Nagesa to lead us.
Very much, Mr. Chairman. All members of the head table, your distinguished
Nagesa, the Honourable Member of Parliament for the constituency of Mayaro, your Member of Parliament, MP Rushton Parry, Member of Parliament for Couva South, Mr. Rudy Inder Singh, our Member of Parliament for the constituency of Komoto Manzanilla, Ms. Christine Newallo-Hosein, Senator the Honorable Tahaka Obika, Senator the Honorable Anita Haynes, Attorney at Law Mr. Larry Lala. Joining us as well on this evening's pavement meeting is the Honorable Member of Parliament for the constituency of Opuch East, Dr. Rudal Munilal, and former Minister of Energy, Mr. Kevin Ramnarine. Local government practitioners, soldiers of the United National Congress, listeners on us here tonight as well, Power 102 FM, those of you who are viewing us on the various social media platforms, welcome to the pavement report in Mayaro, right here at the Rio Claro Presbyterian School. As you are aware, the United National Congress have embarked on a series of meetings throughout this country, engaging the attention of the people of Trinidad and Tobago and sharing with you some of the issues and problems that are faced by this wicked, vindictive, troublesome government led by Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. And we say from this pavement meeting here tonight, Rowley by the United National Congress after our master super leadership displayed by the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Far worse than what we even thought we was going to get. I remember at the Rio Claro Junction when we were having our mass meeting, and we said, be careful, because if you vote this PNM government into power, you might not be able to buy a chicken on a Sunday. You might have to revert or go to Bakanek. Well, I want to tell you, if you ask the people in the supermarket, they will tell you, not only Bakanek selling, but Levan Gazelle as well. Because people just cannot afford under this government. And people are crying in every corner as people continue to lose their jobs. And what is more important, to have a job to provide for your family. And one of the gentlemen that was responsible in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, and have every single day put up his fight, every single sitting, making representation on behalf of the workers of Trinidad and Tobago, a fighter, a true soldier of the United National Congress, the gentleman who is going to take you through as the chairman of this evening's meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as we welcome the Honorable Mr. Rudy Indarsi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neil Ramnarine, for that introduction and for altering my name a bit here tonight in relation to, I know it has moved from Rudranath to Rudy to Rudal tonight. But my brothers and sisters, tonight the United National Congress is reporting to you from the pavement in Rio Claro in the constituency of our dear brother Mr. Roshan Pare, and tonight we have a very powerful lineup of speakers to put the issues very bluntly to you, and we want to thank this overwhelming audience that is with us here tonight based on an initiative of our political leader, the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa, and the National Executive to come to you and to show you and put it to you in a very blunt way that the most incompetent government, the most corrupt, the most chaotic, the government that has failed to deliver to the people of Trinidad and Tobago after 4 years is the worst government in the political history of Trinidad and Tobago, led by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley. There is no other way I can put it to you in terms of corruption, in terms of incompetence, in terms of a lack of delivery, in terms of their deceit, in terms of their lies, and I am sure that all speakers who will address you here tonight will bring to the fore the issues that I have raised. And I want to tell you here tonight and raise 2 points or 2 issues very briefly that I am sure will be dealt with and will be expanded upon. Because today we are into the 3rd day of the school term, and the Minister of Education, Anthony Garcia, I think, has used a line that we have gotten fed up of, or we have grown accustomed to hearing from him, that all schools will be open and all systems will be on stream in terms of a functioning education system. And after $245 billion that have been spent by the government of Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, my brothers and sisters, can you tell me that if you have the confidence in Anthony Garcia that the education system is functioning in Trinidad and Tobago, you in Rio Claro have to tell me here tonight, do you have confidence in Anthony Garcia as your Minister of Education? And I'm done saying you need to wake up, because I think that this gentleman has fallen asleep on the job since he assumed the job 4 years ago. And I simply want to quote him by saying he told the media he was confident that all schools in the country will open for the start of the new academic year on Monday. And tonight, I want to tell you that the St. Finbar's RC Church, the Karapichaima Anglican School, the North Manzanilla Government School, the Sangre Chiquito Presbyterian School, and the latest to join the list is the Couva West Secondary School. On the first day, the children were dismissed, classes were dismissed at 1 p.m. On the second day, yesterday, classes were dismissed at 11 a.m. Today, classes were dismissed at 10 a.m. And I am sure by tomorrow, it will be no school when the children are dropped off by their parents. That is the chaos. That is the reality. That is the shameful state of our education system under Anthony Garcia. And I think that he needs to bring an end to the trauma, the pain, the suffering that have been experienced by parents and children alike every time a school term is opened in this country, because they can find $32 million to refurbish Whitehall. They can find $22 million and counting to build a Prime Minister's residence in Tobago. And the upkeep for that residence, I am sure, based on security, based on landscaping, based on staff, based on upkeep, it will run in the vicinity of between $2 to $3 million per year. Rowley and his bunch of unfit ministers can find money to refurbish Stallmeyer's Castle and invite the oligarchs in this country, the bourgeoisie in this country, to a function to drink of candles and carols, to eat and drink the best, at a time when over 9,000 workers and their families were sent home. But Rowley could find money to refurbish Stallmeyer's Castle. He can find money to buy paintings in the sum of between $3 to $4 million, but he cannot find less than $100,000 to have an effective and functioning secondary school in Couva, and the schools that I have called here tonight which have not been opened. That is incompetence, and tonight the pavement in Rio Claro is saying Rowley and Garcia and his incompetent cabinet ministers, all of them must go, my brothers and sisters. And I want to tell you too, that in addition to these schools which have not been opened, their discrimination continues, because you must remember that the delivery under Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the partnership government in terms of education and investing in the future of the young people of Trinidad and Tobago was unparalleled and unprecedented. And today, a school at Ramaitres Hindu, which was 95% completed, the Reform Hindu, which was 90% completed. The Career Presbyterian School, which was 85% completed. And the Parvati and Shiva Boys Hindu colleges, which was 90% completed. Rowley and his incompetent bunch, after spending $245 billion, cannot open these schools for the benefit and development of the young people of Trinidad and Tobago, my brothers and sisters. And what about the 67 early childhood education centers that was completed by Prime Minister Kamla Prasad's The vicious discrimination continues by keeping these schools closed. And that is another reason why whenever the elections are called in Trinidad and Tobago, whether local or general, we must reject the PNM in every electoral district in Trinidad and Tobago. And very briefly, I want to touch on the very dark issue that has unfolded itself in this country. We celebrated recently our 57th anniversary from the point of view of being an independent nation, my brothers and sisters. But as I speak to you, and as I stand before you here tonight, the democracy of Trinidad and Tobago is under threat. It is being eroded by a dictatorial government headed by Dr. Rowley. And I have to reinforce the point here tonight that who the gods first want to destroy, they first make them mad. And we are seeing all the signals from this despotic man, this high-handed man, this dictatorial man, because anytime a individual is on the verge of becoming a despot or becoming a dictator, he starts to invest in ostentatious things. He starts to surround himself with luxurious and lavish spending. And we have seen the signs in terms of the acquisition of paintings, the refurbishment of Stolmeyer's Castle, carols and candles and candlelight and all that goes with it at Christmas time. Then the refurbishment of Whitehall. The fella so obsessed, he wants to fulfill his ego. He wants to fuel his ego. And he has written a book from Whitehall, from Mason Hall to Whitehall. And he has found in excess of $32 million to refurbish. But I want to tell him that that is part one. Part two will be from Whitehall back to Mason Hall. And my brothers and sisters, in finding $22 million to build a Prime Minister's residence in Tobago, it has moved from 500,000 to 22 million. And why I am telling you these things, the signs of a dictator, an ostentatious and a lavish lifestyle. And they entrench themselves and they dig themselves in and they erode the constitution of the country in terms of stooping very low in using the sedition law to attack and to attempt to stifle and suppress freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And that is why I am telling you here tonight, when they attack religious leaders, when they attack trade union leaders, when the next line of attack will be, because they have already started plucking out their political opponents with charges that will not substantiate or will not be sustained in the courts of this country. The next line of attack will be the citizens who support political parties who are against them, and people like you and me who are sitting
in this very said audience, whether we speak out here, we speak out on the corners, we speak out on social media, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley will use the sedition law to suppress anybody who wants to speak out against his anti-democratic policies and also his failed economic policies, and Trinidad and Tobago being on the verge of a failed state. And that is why I want to tell you that we have a responsibility, and our leader has made it very clear, the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar, that she will take the battle to the PNM in the Parliament and outside of the Parliament, in every street and in the trenches, my brothers and sisters. And tonight, our leader has written to the clerk of this House, in keeping with the standing orders, and more precisely, Standing Order 60, to the clerk of the House of Representatives to introduce a private member's bill that will seek to repeal this Sedition Act, this outdated piece of legislation that is inimical to the tenets of a modern constitutional democracy. Freedom of speech and freedom of expression is guaranteed under the Constitution of this country. And our political leader, the leader of the opposition, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, and your great party has always been on the side of the Constitution, has always been on the side of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and rest assured that she will not sleep, and we will not sleep, in ensuring that this bill does not be abused by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley and the despotic and undemocratic PNM to stifle the law-abiding citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. It will be an all-out war to ensure that we stand on the side of freedom of expression and what is called freedom of speech, which is guaranteed in the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago, my brothers and sisters. So tonight, I have laid the platform for this meeting. And as I said, we have a very powerful battery, a very powerful lineup of speakers that will bring the issues to you. And the first speaker I want to bring to the platform is someone who has had a background in politics and political communications. She has been a national scholarship winner and also possesses a Bachelor of Law degree. She has been the PRO of the United National Congress since 2017. Could we bring on, with a lusty round of applause, your PRO, our PRO, Senator Anita Haynes.
Good night, Rio Claro. I am very pleased to meet you on the pavement here tonight. Allow me to say good night to the head table and a very special good night to all of you who came out here tonight to support your MP, Mr. Rushton Parry. So we're on the pavement, and I want to take this time to talk one-on-one to everybody in here today. You know what Saturday is? It will be Saturday, September 7th. 4 years of absolute failure. That is what we are approaching. Saturday, September 7th, 4 years of failure. A time of reflection. We just had Independence Day. We have their anniversary, and we have the budget coming in October. All of these times we can take a moment to think about what the last 4 years has been like. And ask yourself now, are you better off today than you were in 2015? Can anybody say that any single part of your life has improved under the Keith Rowley administration? You see, what improved by you? Well, you see? So what we are looking at is a country that has regressed in 4 short years. And now you have to ask yourself, you could take 5 more? Could you imagine 5 more years of this kind of incompetence? We went through, Dr. Munilal will be here a little later on, and he asked the Prime Minister, Keith Rowley, one simple question. Could you name one achievement, just one achievement from your administration? You know what he came up with? Which one? No golf courses here. He said that there was no corruption in his government. And then a few months later, they arrested a minister of government. So you had to scratch off the one thing you write down as an achievement. 2 months later, you had to scratch it off. Imagine that. So they come in to talk to, instead of coming to the population on September 7th to tell you what they have done in the last 4 years with billions of your dollars that they have spent. They are going to instead host a gala dinner in Hyatt Regency, $1,500 a plate. That is Saturday. That's celebration because King Keith, MP Indar Singh told you about the castles. King Keith is busy building castles up and down Tobago, Whitehall, all over. Busy spending your money, building up castles and having dinners, gala dinners, fundraising dinners for the PNM. While all of us could sit down here and say none of us are better off. But you know how shameful and disgraceful this government is. 2018, Carl Mimbert told us that year, 2018, was the year of the turnaround. He said, I can see clearly now, rain is gone. Because remember they told us, tighten our belt. You have to tighten your belt, things bad, all the money gone. And then they said things turn around. And then they turn around and shut down Petrotrin in the same year. When they told us everything is getting better, they sent home 5,000 people one shot in September. And that is the kind of shamelessness. But you cannot expect anything different from a government that entered the corridors of power on lies. And that brings me to my next point. You see, it's 4 years. Let's think about not just what happened in the last 4 years, but how they even got to be there in the first place. It was a lie. This man came with 4 copybook pages in Parliament and read out blatant lies, accusing the sitting Prime Minister, accusing ministers of government of all kinds of things, including conspiracy to murder. And if you could do that to get into power, once you get in, you could do anything. You could do anything to anybody, and you are seeing it happen now. If you aren't sure that they don't care about you, you should have been sure when they can tell you the economy turn around and then fire people in the same year. If you are not sure that they don't care about you, they can stand up in Parliament one day and tell us crime is going down, and then the next day tell us the UNC is responsible for crime because we wouldn't support X, Y, and Z bill. They have no clue how to govern. When we told the country in 2015 that the PNM had no plan to run this country, we knew exactly what we were saying, and we knew why we said it. Because they didn't even have the courtesy or the decency to say to the population then, this is what we'll do if we win. They never said it. So now, they are going to come to you again. They are going to pull every trick out of the book. This sedition thing that you're seeing today is the first step. It is the first step on an extraordinarily slippery slope. Just imagine if as an opposition, they could lie and say that the Prime Minister was responsible in a conspiracy plot and march up and down town on this email gate issue and demand all kind of investigations as an opposition. Imagine what they will do with the power of government behind them. With the power of government behind them, they will do anything to return to power. And I can tell you, Keith Rowley is a desperate man today. He's quiet these days because he's hiding a little bit. So, yeah. Mason Hall? Yes, I don't think he wrote the first one. So, but he is quiet these days, plotting, I assume, to figure out what's the next big lie? What's the next big lie? The next fabrication, the next story, fancy stories, because that's what they come in with, you know. They will make up anything, they will do anything. And so, what we have said, all right, the PNM will do and say anything, but the UNC stands for the people. We stand for all people. So we are out here on the pavement, we are in budget consultations, we are in our Monday night forums, and every single opportunity we get, we say what our plans and policies are to take Trinidad and Tobago forward. And we do that because they can't answer that question. You ask them what they'll do. What would they do to increase jobs? They tell you the UNC can't get jobs. That is the answer. We said we will get 50,000 jobs in 5 years and we laid out the plan. Their response to that was, them can't do that. You can't do it. Keith Rowley, you cannot do it. But we absolutely can do it because we did it before. We did it before and we will do it again. So ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we're outside on the pavement because we are having one-on-one conversations with all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Makes no matters about what is before us in the next year. We are in for a hard fight because we are fighting against a desperate opponent. A desperate, wounded opponent who will do anything for power. So don't think that because we all know for sure that the last 4 years was hard, and because we all know for sure nobody's better off, and we all know so many things for sure, that crime went up, unemployment went up, the economy crashed, the sea bridge crashed, despite the fact that they bought more boats than they were there for years in power. They have, all of these things are before us, and we know it for a fact. So you say, right, you're sure the UNC win, you're sure Kamala back in power. Don't for a second believe that, you know, because what we have to do is ensure that this desperate, wounded opponent who will pull out every trick in the book cannot take away the rights of our citizens and the right to place who you want in power. So the work begins now, ladies and gentlemen. We will do our work. We will do what we need to do as a party, but we also need everybody here to do what we need to do as citizens to make sure Keith Rowley and this band of incompetent brigades will never see the corridors of power again. And I thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Anita Haynes. And Senator Haynes has told you very clearly that there has been when you examine the political history of this country, since 1962, lies and deceit, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley and his government, who have told you the most lies in the political history of Trinidad and Tobago. I want to hear tonight in Rio Claro. You tell me, have you heard more lies in any other government than that of Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley? No. Man, the fella tell you, you must never forget these things, you know. He appointed the former Minister of Finance in the person of Wendell Motley to oversee sandals and to do negotiations and so on. When confronted by Mr. Robert Amar of 104.7 at a post-cabinet press briefing, the man blatantly lied and said he don't know that he had Wendell Motley doing that. That is the man you have leading Trinidad and Tobago. And then, if you could recollect, when he was addressing a meeting somewhere, I think, in El Dorado, he said that if you had your head in the freezer, well, on the fridge door, he wanted you to listen again, and he said that the government was not closing down Petrotrin. That is the lies. That is the deceit. That is the deception that I am talking about, that you have grown accustomed to under Dr. Keith Rowley as your Prime Minister, and that is why we must not trust them when they come to you in whatever form and fashion. And tonight, my brothers and sisters, we continue with our very powerful platform. Tonight, you must recollect that your government, led by Kamla Persad-Bissessar, was about people-centered development, was about improving the standard and quality of living. And the next speaker helped her unravel a vision of people-centered development and delivery. She expanded the food card system in this country. She delivered the baby milk grant. She did not, and our government led by Kamla Persad-Bissessar did not take away food cards of 18,000 food cards and boast about it. She did not take away the baby care, or what we would call the baby milk grant. She ensured that all social services, flood grants and every other grant was delivered to the poor and needy under the vision of our then Prime Minister. I bring to you the former Minister of Social Development and Family Services, our Member of Parliament for Komoto Manzanilla. Put your hands together and welcome Christine Newallo-Hosein.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good night to your awesome Member of Parliament for Mayaro, MP Russian Parry. I know you love him by your applause. And of course, thank you, Chairman, for that wonderful introduction. Senators Obika and Anita Haynes, and our own very dynamic attorney at law, Mr. Larry Lala, and of course we're expecting many other dynamic speakers, and of course I know our political leaders listening. No, I don't probably know this song, but I really can't sing, but I want all to finish this verse to me, right? Coming from what our chairman said. Teacher Percy say, if you tell a lie, you're going to hell as soon as you... Now be careful, because it might be hell for sedition. But no, on a serious note, you know, Senator Anita Haynes said, you know, that the Prime Minister is sitting down in his office writing another book. And obviously he has to write another book. And it would be written, and the title would be From Whitehall to the Mess Hall. Because that is what he's doing right now. Taking us through a lot of mess. You know, I want to tell you that never in the history of this country have we witnessed such extreme poverty, homelessness, and hopelessness, destitution, and frustration. You know, it's 4 years. But it seems longer than 4 years, because it is so hard for our people that this PNM administration has reduced this country from a shining example of a Caribbean economic strength to a dark spot of skeleton remains in this chain of the West Indian Islands. And you know, we have lost pride and joy. And the frightening reality is that they are there for another year. Can you take another year of that? But thank God that the expiration date is on the horizon. And so we have to consider this country's social safety net that has almost disappeared due to either the policies or the lack of policies of this PNM government. Almost every social measure implemented by our dynamic political leader and soon-to-be Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar was to bring relief to the poor, the vulnerable, the marginalized, the elderly, the differently abled, those living below the poverty line have all been drastically reduced or removed altogether. The poor and the vulnerable are totally excluded from this PNM government. And they seem to be proud of it, as our former speaker has indicated, and chairman. They seem to be proud of the achievements that persons have lost their jobs, that persons have been taken off of food cards, that persons cannot even get basic necessities without having to struggle and to fight. And so they want to bring in draconian laws in place to hinder the people from, speaking out for their rights. Never ever have we heard in the history of our country where a government wants to stifle the voices of its people. And so We are here on the pavement report to speak out. Because you can't stop us from speaking. We will stand up for our rights. You know, we were speaking about on Monday, just Monday here, school started. And yet many parents were unable to send their children to school. I don't know if any of you all have experienced that, but I am telling you, many persons came into my office this week. Some who had lost their jobs could not afford to purchase uniforms for their children, far less school books. You know, we have had, and the Minister of Education, Minister Garcia, is boasting that all is well. I don't know where all is well. I don't know if he was reading A Midsummer's Night Dream or something or the other, but he had to be dreaming. Because, you know, I have in my constituency an ECC school, and that was built under Kamla Prasad Bisesa. And to date, a completely constructed building cannot be opened. And why? Why it cannot be opened? This is in coal mine. The minister said he couldn't find any schools that we had built. I'm telling him, come to coal mine. There's one that is built that is waiting to be opened. Then at the end of the school term, the very day that school was having their reports given out, I got a call that the North Manzan school was going to be decanted. They don't know what was going to happen. No one knew what was going to happen. Because North Manzanilla was removed from their location and they were placed in a River Manzanilla school. But after that, they were sharing. So nobody knows what is going to happen. Nobody knows the future of North Manzanilla School. And you know what is so interesting about this? You know the minister once taught at North Manzan? He was a former teacher. And so you ask yourself, you know, you would think that, you know, you would have been in a place and you want to leave a legacy. You want to be able to speak about it. You want to be able to say, I taught at this school, and you want to build it back. You want to encourage, you know, growth. You want to encourage your children to go to school. You decanted. No word. No one knows anything. So I want to tell Minister Garcia, all is not well. All is not well. Further to that, we have a Sangre Chiquito Presbyterian school. Again, shut it down. And place the children, split them in two. Some going to the Grosvenor Presbyterian School, and some are going at the activity center. Now ask me, does that make any sense? Ask him, Minister Garcia, when is it that the school is going to be rebuilt? When is it that things are going to be put in train? No answer. As a matter of fact, he tells me, and this is on public, this is on the Hansard. I don't know anything about that. I don't know. Am I exaggerating? No. Because you state for yourself. Never knows anything. Never. I don't know what it is he's doing. Well, we know. We see him sleeping. But anyway, so the thing about it is that you remove the children and you've placed them in an activity center, which is not conducive for learning. But you know what? The teachers are doing a marvelous job of trying to make it work. But guess what? The community now is without an activity center to plan community activities. And these community centers and activity centers were developed and created to keep communities together. So you have a community and don't know where to meet. I pass them on the road the other side, and they're sitting down on the side of the road having their meeting. And tell me, is this how a government really plans stuff? Now I understand why you told our colleague, Dr. Rudal Munilal, to meet him on the pavement, because that's where they do everything. So we have to have our pavement report because we are bringing the truth to you. So we're coming again. Do you know, coming back to Minister Garcia, you know, drivers who didn't get paid have not been able to take some of the children to school? Yeah, some children were not able to go to school because the drivers came out of the contract because they are not interested anymore because they're still being owed thousands of dollars. And ask me, is the AG getting his 23 million every month? Is the AG getting his 23 million every month? Because if he getting it, I want to know why it is the drivers who are taking our children to the schools and bringing them back home safely, why is it they cannot be paid in the same manner? But you know what? This is the policy of the government. So I'm asking, we're coming along now, this week, I had a pensioner who came to my office. She said, MP, You know, my daughter passed away, and I'm a son-in-law, so I'm not a legal guardian for my granddaughter. So my granddaughter resides with me. She said, I'm a pensioner, MP, I'm a pensioner, you know, and so I went to apply to get public assistance for my granddaughter. She said, you know what it is these people tell me? They say, she have a pension of 3.5, and that could take care of her and her grandchild. That is the level of common sense that our government, that's the level of not only common sense, you know, but compassion that they have on persons. How can anybody take care of a 13-year-old child, a young lady, by the way, who you would need, as you know, when you're dealing with a young lady at that age, taken care by her grandmother, surviving her grandmother, being able to survive on $3,500. So she was denied public assistance. And you know, talking about public assistance, I had also several pensioners who came in. And this is what, they were advised by the Ministry of Social Development that they are no longer eligible for public assistance because they're now coming to age of being a pensioner. So until they have applied for their pension and go through the process, they will be denied their public assistance. So they say, well, MP, how can that be? How long does it take for you to get a pension? I say, well, it depends. It depends on if the social worker who doing your file is available. She doesn't get sick, doesn't go on vacation, isn't transferred, whatever. I say, so and it depends on how fast you can get your information back because you have to take information to get to immigration. So I said, your whole file could take months to 2 years because I've known of persons who have taken as much as 2 years. So you could imagine, you stop a person who has been dependent on public assistance for whatever reason, you remove it completely until their pension is approved because they cannot get both. I mean, ask me if that makes any sense. So she's asking, how would I get to eat? Because it's stopping and I haven't gotten anything in the bank. I haven't been able to access any funding. And this is the level of caring that this government says they have for you. Well, I don't want this kind of caring, no? They could keep their love, because that is not love. That is more hate than anything else. That cannot be love. So anyway, I have 3 more minutes. And so, we're talking about that. You know, to date, several flood victims still have not received assistance from this ministry. The same ministry, every time we ask in Parliament, when it is going to come? Oh, month end. That was last month end. This month end come. This month end. We hear that since October. People are coming now into another rainy season and they're afraid. They're afraid because they don't know if they will lose any items because of another flood. And that this government, this uncaring, worthless government, if they will get any assistance. So, I want you to recognize that you have to be firm in how it is you believe. Don't let this government lie to you. They're good at that, all right? And they're not hiring persons. As a matter of fact, they're canceling contracts. They say that they don't have any money. But I want to stick this as a needle. If they don't have money for the people, the elderly and the disabled and all these persons, how come they have $23 million to pay for a building? This same building that was put up for rent in Barbados, in a Barbados newspaper, for a quarter of that cost. At least it was for $20-something thousand a month. So I'm asking, can we do something about it? Yes, we can. What can we do? Vote them out. Vote them out. Vote them out. And be prepared to bring back Kamala Persad-Bissessar as our next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you.
Rio Claro, could you put your hands together for the Member of Parliament for Komoto Manzanilla, Christine Hussein. And my brothers and sisters, could we welcome the Member of Parliament for Orapooch East, Dr. Rudal Monilal, and our former Minister of Energy and Energy Affairs, Mr. Kevin Ramnarine. And I want you in Rio Claro to understand the history of the PNM. The PNM has always been a party, and whenever they become the government, they have always performed their duties with spite, with vindictiveness, with malice, and the highest form of discrimination. You must never forget that it is the PNM that kept the Beach High School closed for nearly 10 years. They told you that that children will get sick because of gas emissions, and teachers will not be able to teach. It was left to the government of Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar immediately and coming into government to refurbish the Beach High School. It is now more than 9 years, and not a child or not a teacher has fallen ill at the Beach High School, and that is how you must judge the PNM as being spiteful, as being wicked, and being a very discriminatory government. They cannot take that out of their DNA. And that is why today the social sector is in shambles. And while we will help the people of Bahamas based on the initiative of our political leader and our party, you must remember that there are citizens in Trinidad and Tobago, I think in Rio Claro, who are still waiting on their flood checks from the Ministry of Social Development. So whether it is in Rio Claro, or Warrenville, or St. Helena, or wherever floods took place in 2017 and 2018, there are still people waiting on their flood checks based on the incompetence of the Rowley government, my brothers and sisters. Tonight, as we move on, I want to introduce a man to the platform who has been a legal practitioner for the last 24 years. He has served as a temporary judge in the Supreme Court. He has been rooted in the politics of our party over the years, serving as a temporary senator and also a former member of the board of directors of the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago. And we share one thing in common. We attended the same secondary school. My brothers and sisters, could we show our appreciation and welcome to the platform tonight, Attorney at Law, Larry Lala.
Rudy was senior to me in high school, though, I have to say. Political leader of the United National Congress, who I know is listening on radio, distinguished members of the head table, and Member of Parliament for Mayaro, Mr. Rushton Parry, members of the UNC here this evening and listening on radio as well as watching on the live Facebook feed, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Keith Rowley wants to create a new society. Well, that's well and good. We all believe that with fundamental change in Trinidad and Tobago, this can be a great place to live. Many of us agree that should Trinidad and Tobago get its act together, no country in the region could compete with us, because we have the best of everything here. We have the best cultural and religious mix of people, food, beaches, nature attractions, geographical location for shipping and aviation, and we still have a fair amount of resources. So we have the ingredients to make us great. But to inspire us to such greatness, to bring out the best in all of us. Our country's leader must be believable. People have to be able to trust what you say. But you can't ask people to trust you with their future when they cannot trust you as a person. Can you trust Keith Rowley as a person? No! This is the man who committed the greatest fraud on the people of this country in our 57-year history. Our parliament is a sacred place. Great trust is placed in our members of parliament when they speak in those halls. That is why they have privilege, because you are trusted to speak the truth and behave honorably. All over this country, though, we know and we believe that he was dishonest and he behaved dishonorably in relation to the PNM's email gate. We believe Rowley fabricated those emails and presented those emails knowing they were fabrications. How can I say this? Because he kept them for 6 months in his possession before he did anything with them, before he told anyone about them. If he believed the emails were genuine, they having contained an alleged plot to kill a reporter, he would have gone to the police with it immediately. He didn't do that. He waited 6 months. Also, up to now, he has not told us where he got them. If he at first believed they were genuine, he would have supplied the police with the name of the person who gave them to him and set him up. He has not done that. And we don't believe this nonsense that he got it in the mailbox. In this country, we seem to have very dangerous, conniving, and even seditious mailboxes, because the maker of those fabricated emails is guilty of sedition. Do you believe Rowley would allow someone to set him up and get away with it? Rowley was not set up. The question is, who is he protecting and why? Also, why appoint Gary as commissioner long before the end of the investigation if you believe the emails were true? Also, he has not apologized to date to this country for the trauma that he caused. I am sure you all remember how traumatic the revelation of those fake emails were to you. How betrayed you felt as members of the national community. How betrayed you felt when he bust the mark in Parliament. If he was a genuine patriot, if he had a modicum of decency, if he was really interested in getting the whole country behind him to create this new society that he is speaking about, he would have apologized to you and say that somebody set him up and he was sorry for what happened. But to date, he has not. He has not shown contrition. The conclusion to be drawn is that the lust for power is greater than any genuine effort to create any new society. So because of Emailgate, because of his betrayal of the sacred trust we as citizens place in him to speak the truth in Parliament, we cannot believe him. And he did it again. He said that he was not closing down Petrotrin. He said, when he said that, hundreds of families, husbands, wives, parents, children, businessmen, workers, trade unionists, all hung on his words and breathed a sigh of relief and believed him. And true to form, he deceived us. As soon as we all turned our backs, he shut down the whole company and fired everyone, unleashing a world of despair stress, and tears on thousands of persons who rely directly or indirectly on Petrotrin. Putting aside the important question of whether it was right or wrong to close down the company, how can you, on the one hand, tell the whole country that you are not shutting down the company, and then turn around and do just that? So you can't trust him as a leader because you cannot rely on his word. But apart from his word, his track record doesn't inspire confidence either. He recently buffed everyone and said that we don't have a failed state. Well, I want to agree with him. We don't have a failed state. What we have is a failed government. As Mrs. Bisesa said over and over again, this is a government of Fs. His government, the team that he leads, has failed on everything. The only thing they have succeeded in is making things worse. Are you better off today than you were on September 7, 2015? No. They claim that they could do little because of falling gas and oil revenues. But the businessmen and large companies in this country are multi-millionaires and billionaires. Has Rowley and his government done anything to encourage and entice businessmen to spend their money to drive the economy? Has Rowley and his government put forward one program to stimulate spending by the business community? Spending that could create jobs, diversify our economy, produce products for exports, and earn foreign exchange for the country. You get the impression that their plan on going into office was to preach doom and gloom and play golf and just wait for energy prices to go back up so that they could blow their false trumpet and claim that they revived the economy. And the energy prices having not gone back up and revenue having fallen, they are now in no man's land. They have killed the economy and now everyone is bawling. And it's not just the average citizen. Recently I went by my family doctor, who I've been going to since age 5. He has a long, well-established medical practice, but he complained that his patients seem to have disappeared overnight. As we walk through the shopping malls, they are losing stores daily. Thousands have lost their jobs and families are under pressure. Someone said this year that the rainy season is the driest they've seen in a while. I commented that even the rain under pressure with this government. We have a failed government that had no plan except to make the big Fs in the PNM richer, the friends and family. There was no plan for agriculture. They have done nothing for agriculture. They have done nothing for tourism. Recently I was in London, and everywhere you look, you see huge advertisements about tourism in St. Lucia. I saw none for Tobago. You board a plane in London for Trinidad. The plane stops in St. Lucia, and all the tourists get off. They are not coming to Trinidad and Tobago. Tourism is dead. I remember one MP saying that they were in charge. Well, if this is what happens when they're in charge, better they don't be in charge. We must remove them from being in charge. And I don't have to talk about the murder rate. We have never been so insecure and afraid as a people. They have failed to make any dent on crime and murders. Imagine we have perhaps one of the best commissioners of police we have ever had, and he has to use the Police Independence Day celebrations to complain that the police service is not being properly funded. If I didn't know better, I would swear that someone is afraid of Gary becoming too popular. and they don't want him to succeed. If Gary wins, we win. So we must want him to succeed. The point is that when you look at every sector in the country, the government has failed. They have spent about $244 billion, more than the last government had spent by this time in its term. And what do they have to show for it? So because the government is led by someone whose words we cannot believe, whose word we cannot trust, and who has led a team of failures, Rowley, when he speaks about this new society that he wants to create, we cannot believe him at all. I want to tell you this. Something has started recently. They have become afraid of our words and started charging persons for sedition. A government only becomes afraid of the words of its citizens when they believe their end is approaching. Rowley and his failed government believe that their end is near, and they are afraid of us speaking about them. But when you have lost your job, you have to make noise. When you can't put food on the table of your family, you have to make noise. When your business is failing, you have to make noise. When you can't get foreign currency even to pay medical bills, you have to make noise. We must speak out, and we must speak out loudly so that they could hear. We have had enough and they must go. And I want to tell you, the citizens in every part of this country, that you must not be afraid. Don't let them bully you into suffering and silence. Because it is not sedition to call for the removal of a government by lawful means when the election is wrong. I want to repeat that because many of our members are unclear of the law. It is not sedition for you to call for the removal of a government by lawful means when the election bell is rung. We of the UNC are here to give you strength and to let you know that we will defend your right to call for the removal of this failed government by the greatest weapon you have, this voting finger. Rowley cannot lead us into any new society. He does not have the compassion, competence, foresight, or moral authority to do so. To lead us into a new society, we need a caring, compassionate leader with a proven track record of performance. And the only man or woman standing who meets that criteria is Kamla Prasad-Bissessar and the team that she will put together in the UNC. There has been all this talk about Rowley and this new book that he is writing. Well, some of my friends and I, we have put our heads together and we have come up with a title similar to what Rudy indicated a short while ago. Rowley, we have a name for your new book. It should be called From Mason Hall to Whitehall and Back Fast. We must send him back to Mason Hall fast and end the hurt, trauma, despair, and failure that his government has brought to us. I thank you for your kind attention.
Once again, put your hands together for attorney at law, Larry Lala.
And to sum it up, in Trinidad language, you know, when you're coming around a corner, sometimes you can see a conman before you come around a corner. And I remember this picture when I saw Dr. Keith Rowley chopping mangoes in the Davie market. That was like the biggest conman coming round the corner, because that was the time that he was putting to the people of Trinidad and Tobago that he had all the solutions to solve Trinidad and Tobago's woes, and they was presenting a manifesto to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And tonight, not one item has been delivered in that manifesto. They have failed you miserably. And you must remember, we have been consistently saying in the UNC that the PNM did not have a plan to govern Trinidad and Tobago. The partnership under Kamla Persad-Bissessar had a plan. That is why we were able to create 50,000 jobs without implementing or imposing a new tax on the population of the country. We brought down unemployment to its lowest, to 3.3%. We ensured that through her ministers of finance, that the most in terms of cash in bank in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund was at $31 billion US, my brothers and sisters. That was performance. We have the track record, we have the legacy, and you must have the confidence that we will be the next government of Trinidad and Tobago under Kamla Persad-Bissessar. My brothers and sisters, as we move on with this very powerful battery and lineup here tonight on the pavement in Rio Claro, I want to bring to you a child who understands the cry for peace, bread and justice, a product of the National Joint Action Committee, who has risen to the ranks of being an economist and a banker by profession. He has the PNM on the back foot in our Senate by showing up their incompetencies from an economic point of view. We have the confidence that Minister Imbert has failed as the Minister of Finance, and he is committed as part of the team under Kamla Persad-Bissessar to restore the economic confidence not only of our business community but all citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. I bring to you Senator Tahaka Obika.
Good night, Rio Claro. Good night to the constituency of Miaro. Good night. Something good. I want to congratulate our Member of Parliament for Miaro, Rushton Puri, for a wonderful pavement report. Our Chairman, Ojah-Maharaj Indar Singh, MP Christine Newallo-Hosein, who's spoken well tonight. Of course, Attorney at Law Larry Lala, and my Senate colleague Anita Haynes. You can give them rounds of applause. Of course, still to come, Kevin Ramnarine, and of course we all know the man who Rowley asked to meet on the pavement, the Member of Parliament for Bush East, Dr. Rudal Munilad. He has so much pavement reports, I didn't see Dr. Rowley yet. Now, of course, as I begin, we are preparing for two elections, local and general. And we are paving the way in this pavement report for the next Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar. I want to start by calling out the Minister of Tourism. There were some musical chairs, and Shamfo Kojo, who said, "Be in your face," was sent packing to face the Ministry of Sport. And Randall Mitchell came into the Ministry of Tourism. Now, what is the issue? On the 30th of August 2019, there were Sustainable Awards for tourism in the Caribbean. Grenada got 3, Guyana got 2, St. Lucia got 1, St. Vincent and the Grenadines got 1, Belize got 1, Trinidad and Tobago got 0. That is obvious because this government has no plan for tourism. They hung everything on tourism on one failed sandals project. One failed sandals project that was cooked up when Keith Rowley was in opposition. And of course, the people of Tobago sent them packing. They said that is not the model of development they want. Now, all that the PNM had to do was to look at what was done from 2010 to 2015 under the leadership of Kamala Prasad-Bisesa across the length and breadth of this country in the regional corporations, local economic development plans were set out. And key to that was the development of a tourism-based enterprise. Tourism would connect with the natural environment that we have. We have the manatees in this part of Trinidad. And as well with the culture of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. But when you have a government that only sees culture as a vote-buying mechanism, only sees culture as an avenue to show up votes for an election, they will not see the importance of culture and tourism. And therefore, they would have discarded all those economic development plans they would have benefited from the work done by the government led by Kamala Prasad-Bisesa. So the tourism sector is sick. From 2015, tourism arrivals have declined from 439,749 to 2018 levels of 375,485. A decline by over 64,000, or 15% decline. What does that mean? That means jobs. That means jobs and economic development will be sent to other places. I mentioned Grenada, Guyana, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Belize. That means if an investor, even a locally based investor, a regional investor, will not take his time or her resources to invest in tourism products in Trinidad and Tobago because they're not seeing the government focusing on it. We are running on a tourism policy that is older than the Keith Rowley government. They have done nothing regarding creative industry and tourism policy for development. So the tourism sector is sick. The breakup of the Tourism Development Company has resulted in a Tourism Trinidad and a Tourism Tobago. The Tourism Trinidad has fallen flat. They're bankrupt of ideas. They didn't even have a penny. That was a joke, by the way. So, of course, what does that mean? When you can have the four Miss Universe leaving, discarded, depressed, what does it leave for the rest of us and the investors, the participants in the tourism sector? And what is tourism? I'll give an example. At the hotel school under the government of Kamala Prasad-Bisesa, tourism, the Trinidad Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Institute. You may have children or neighbors who are chefs, bartenders. They work in the hotel industry. They work as tour guides, tour operators. They may be taxi drivers that deal with tourists to and from the airport and the hotels. They depend on a strong tourism training institute. At TTHDI, the student intake was climbing towards 1,000 under the free access to the GATE program under Kamala Prasad-Bisesa. When this government came in, they stopped paying almost immediately, honoring the receipts from the GATE program. Just over $1 million TT a year, not much. Significantly less than the paintings they bought from England. And as a result of that, after 3 years, the university said, you know, we can't take this anymore. And they started charging students. The student population dropped by more than half because people simply cannot afford to pay for education, especially where it was free under Kamala Prasad-Bisesa. So you close down the opportunity for training. Therefore, it means that you don't care about investors, because for an investor to come to your country to engage in tourism, the tourist is very sophisticated in their approach. The tourist focuses on a quality of experience. Sun, sea, and sand, they have it all over the Caribbean. We don't have that much sand here. In fact, white sand, golden sand, and so on. So they need to depend on the quality of the experience with the citizens in the country. The quality of the experience comes when you have quality trained graduates that can really empower themselves and their communities and bring the tourists along. But when you don't have graduates being trained, you don't have students being trained, then of course you don't have investors who want to come here because they don't believe they will have the quality of human resource to help their product grow. So the Minister of Tourism must come out and face the music. And we're talking about carnival here. We're talking about account to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Because after you've cancelled external promotion of brand Trinidad and Tobago, you've caused a battle between brand Tobago and brand Trinidad, confused the entire branding of this country internationally. You have no policy on tourism, and we are at a sprint to the bottom. Because in the Caribbean Tourism Organization's report, for the first quarter of 2019, Trinidad and Tobago is in the bottom 3 in the region. Imagine that. Where we would think that we would pride ourselves as being leaders in the region, we are at the bottom. Now, it's very simple. It is very simple at this point in time. The pavement report is where we account to you. But it's a simple message I want to give you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, via the online media and right here in Rio Claro. You see, when the PNM comes to you for election, they will tell you about all the things that happened, when they feel they happened, and so on. But I want you to remember one thing. I want you to tell them it's election time. What is the time? You see, when they come to you, remind them that this government took away 18,000 food cards from 18,000 families. That's over 90,000 people, citizens of this country, that they have denied food on their tables. So when they come to you and ask you, what is the time? Get them a time check. Tell them it's what time? Election time. You see, when they come to you and they tell you about education and they will close the gate, remind them that it's Keith Rowley that are denying professionals from getting access to education via the GATE program. What is the time? You see, when they come to you and they say, well, we love you because we care for you, remind them that it's the single mothers who can't get the milk grant for the children because a wicked and evil and dangerous government under Keith Rowley took away the milk grant from single mothers. And as I leave you, remember that the only vehicle that can bring good governance to the people of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago is the United National Congress. I thank
you. Election time is now, and whether Rowley goes to Central or he comes to Rio Claro or in the north or the south, it must be licks for the PNM in every cardinal point on the compass. So whenever they come to you, whether it is local or general elections, it is licks in every electoral district in Trinidad and Tobago, my brothers and sisters. And Senator Obika spoke extensively on the tourism sector. I sure if I ask all you, who is the Minister of Tourism in Trinidad and Tobago? You could tell me who's the Minister of Tourism? So you understand why tourism dead in Trinidad and Tobago. It is incompetence at the highest order under Keith Rowley. And just to show up the incompetence, when one of them was in charge of being the Minister of Tourism, she couldn't even handle her own cell phone. She didn't even know how to take off mobile data and turn on mobile data. So you can imagine she being in charge of a ministry, a cabinet minister. What you expect for tourism? And then when you put she in the Ministry of Sport, she said, well, I don't know what they have me here for. What they have me here for. That is the judgment of Dr. Keith Rowley as your Prime Minister, my brothers and sisters. Talking about local government in the air and elections, I want to recognize Alderman Ramkisoon Nagesa, Councillor Hazari Ramdeen, Councillor Bhushan Shami Singh, and Alderman Adesh Maharaj who have been laboring in the vineyards on behalf of our great political party and championing the cause and vision of our political leader, the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa. My brothers and sisters, we are now moving from tourism into the energy sector. And you must always understand and never forget that under Rowley, we have changed, I think, 3 chairmen or 4 chairmen of Petrotrin. We don't even know who in charge of the successor companies. Well, we know Wiley gone. We know Smiley, Riley, and company under Rowley has led to chaos in the energy sector in Trinidad and Tobago. When this man who has the experience of being a former employee at British Gas, when he was at the energy chamber, a man who has been commenting frequently on energy and the economy from a national, regional and international perspective, when he was the Minister of Energy and Energy Affairs, there was stability, there was confidence, there was foreign direct investment in our energy sector. And if they boast of any turnaround today, it is because of the work of Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisesa and our former Minister of Energy and Energy Affairs. I bring to you Mr. Kevin Ramnarine. And I have to tell you another secret. While Kevin makes his way to the platform, he attended the same secondary school.
One use it well before it's too late. If it is that who you
Leader of the opposition, Kamla Prasad Bisesa, who we are sure she's listening. Parliamentarians at the head table, our friends, the councillors. I'll give you a secret about Hazari just now. Attorney at law, Larry Lala, Kevin Ramnarine, Rujanath and Darasingh all went to Hillview College, right? And but I'm the youngest of the 3. That's why they mentioned that, right? And distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, I thought I should tell you a story. Hazari Ramdeen has been a councillor for 20 years, right? 20 years this year, previously he's a councillor. And I had the honor of screening Hazari Ramdeen in 1999, correct? 2000, sorry, so it's 19 years. Right. So we made a good decision back then to put a good man in Rio Claro North. And he and the other councillors, we have a great team of local government councillors down there. They have done a fantastic job in this part of the country. Give them a round of applause. So here we are today in Rio Claro. And thank you very much, Rushton Parry, for inviting me to speak in the pavement report tonight. And I'm going to focus on the economy and the energy sector, and there's so much to say about the two. Coming down here, I heard Anita on the radio, and she reminded all of us that 7th of September 2015, a date that shall live in infamy, right? That is the date that government changed. And we've now been out of government for 4 years, and let's look back at what has happened. First of all, I could tell you, without fear of contradiction, that the hardest the Ministry of Energy ever worked was between 2011 and 2015. The ministry was a beehive. The ministry, on a Monday morning, there used to be a traffic jam outside the office of the minister, people wanting to see the Minister of Energy. And one of the things that we did, and I'm moving off script here because of what our friend Anita Haynes said on the radio, we recognized that oil production on land was falling. And what we said we have to do is, well, of course, find a way to increase oil production on land. And we were getting a lot of challenges in increasing oil production on land through Petrotrin. So what we decided in ministry to do is to look for all the state land acreage in South Trinidad, and we put it together into what we call a bid round in 2013. And in 2014, we awarded, October 31st, 2014, we awarded 3 blocks to 3 companies to do exploration on land. This is very relevant to you in Rio Claro. We are now, 5 years later, from October 31st, 2014. We are, and trust me when I say, there is unprecedented levels of exploration taking place all around you as a result of the contracts that were signed in October 2014. 2 companies, Touchstone Resources of Canada, they have a block called the Ottawa block, and Lease Operators Limited, a Trinidadian company, they have a block called the Rio Claro block. And they have collectively been doing exploration for the last 8 months. And we are on the verge of major discoveries of oil and natural gas in the southeastern part of Trinidad. We are on the verge. And what does that mean? If that prediction comes to pass, and that we will be hearing about that between now and the end of the year, it means a resuscitation of the economy of southeastern Trinidad. It means jobs. Some of you all sitting in this room may know about this exploration taking place all around us here, right? You're familiar with that, police operators and Touchstone. What does that mean? It means jobs, it means economic activity, it means revenue, it means investment coming into this part of the country. But as I said, the Ministry of Energy between 2011 and 2015 worked very hard. And I wouldn't take the credit for that. I had the support of a fantastic cabinet led by a great Prime Minister. And I want to, tonight, there's a lot that has been said and written about Kamla Prasad-Bissessar, but I could tell you, she gave all of us our room to operate. We had her, if we wanted advice, we go to her. And the best advice that I have ever received as a Minister of Energy actually came from her on several occasions. We don't have time to go into that tonight. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was the port at Galeota, which is again opened in 2014 by the Minister of Energy at the time, that was me. When we came into office in 2010, that project was stalled because there was a land dispute between BP and National Energy Corporation. And within 1 month of me assuming the office of the Minister of Energy, we solved that whole issue of the land dispute. And in 2012, Hazari was there when we turned the sod to start the construction of that port. The port was completed. That was October 2014. That was phase 1 of the Galeota port. And when I opened that port, I said that Galeota was going to become to Trinidad and Tobago what Aberdeen was to the North Sea. Go back and look at my speech. And I said that oil was going to be discovered in the Guyana-Suriname basin because we knew that Exxon was going to explore in Guyana. And we said that Galeota would be at the center of this circle that includes Trinidad's deep water exploration, Guyana, Suriname, and Venezuela if they ever settle down in Venezuela. And you create economic activity. In the campaign in 2015, the then Prime Minister, Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar, spoke about an idea called the Energy Corridor, which was linking San Fernando to Mayaro. And we would have even gone further to link Mayaro to Galeota. And by doing that, you would have linked the southwestern part of the country to the southeastern part of the country. And you would have created the platform for Labitco and Brighton in the southeast and Galeota in the southwest to support this multi-billion barrel oil discovery that's happening in Guyana. That is the vision, the kind of vision that we have to have for this country. It is a vision of development, of economic activity, of prosperity, of job creation. The Galeota port, phase 1, opened in October 2000, around sometime in 2014. Phase 2 was supposed to have happened. The government changed. Phase 2 of the Galeota port has never happened. I saw something, and now I want to tell you, the Galeota port can only be relevant to Guyana and Suriname if there's a phase 2. So we need another 5 years. Probably when we come back, not probably, when we come back, we have to finish phase 2 of the Galeota port. There is going to be discoveries of oil very soon in the southeastern part of the country by these 2 companies. You all know the genesis of that now. The genesis of that was 2013, 2014 in the Ministry of Energy. So thanks, Anita, for sidetracking me there of my script. So tonight, we want to talk a bit about the economy and the energy sector. Rudy spoke about Petrotrin, and if I don't talk about Petrotrin tonight, I'll be in great trouble. Because whole day Power 102 has been advertising this meeting, and ex-Petrotrin workers have been WhatsApping me and say, I have to talk about Petrotrin tonight. So let's talk a bit about what happened at Petrotrin. So we are approaching 1 year. November 2018 was when Petrotrin was shut down. When Petrotrin, in the run-up to the shutdown of Petrotrin, we heard many different stories. The very first story we heard is that the refinery was being shut down. Then we heard a story, either before that or after that, that Petrotrin will not be closed by the Prime Minister, right? We have the video clip for that. And then finally, it evolved and it morphed into all, and everybody went home. Including you? Including SPD. He was part of the all. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy for him. So, the company has been shut down, and we were sold a story that milk and honey would flow in Trinidad and Tobago, that all would be well, and that, profits and so on, and the companies would be booming. Nothing like that has happened. On the other hand, what has been really happening is that we have a cloud of economic depression hanging over the entire southern part of this country called Trinidad, stretching from the southeast and going all the way to the southwest. The closure of Petrotrin didn't only affect Petrotrin. The closure of Petrotrin, as we all knew, would have had a ripple effect. It first affected the contractors, and there were hundreds of contractors. It affected the energy services companies that did business with Petrotrin, and then it started to affect the restaurants, the taxi drivers, and there was no need to shut the company down. There's a lot that happened between 2016 and 2018 that this country is not aware of. Today, when we were in office, we had a project called the Southwest Soldado project that was 95% complete in 2016. That project was scrapped. Today, the infrastructure for Southwest Soldado is hurriedly being put in place to get that production in Southwest Soldado up. That they will celebrate, and they will say that's a great achievement, and look at what we've done, we've turned around oil production. That should have happened 3.5 years ago. It should not have happened now. And this is what happens sometimes when you change governments, things fall through the cracks. But in Trinidad, it's much more than a crack. It's more like the Grand Canyon, right? A lot of things have fallen through the cracks. So, as Rudy mentioned, Petrotrin, or Trinidad Petroleum Holdings Limited, or Heritage Petroleum, or whatever you might want to call it, has had 3 chairmen in the last 4 years, has had different iterations of boards, has had different iterations of management. That cannot be a stable company. And the stakeholders of that company, the bondholders, the people who lend the company money, the banks and so on, what is their point of view of what is happening here? Because some of them have been speaking to me and speaking to other ex-employees of Petrotrin, and there's great concern. We have had a 27% decline in oil production in this country from 2015 to 2019. A significant decline in oil production. When you begin to do the maths on those numbers, it is mind-boggling. It runs into the billions and billions of Trinidad and Tobago dollars that have been lost. So, how is this new company, Trinidad Petroleum Holdings Limited, going to survive? And can it survive? And is it that in 2020, whoever is there, and it may well fall to us to fix, but whoever is there has to deal with the fact that this company, Trinidad Petroleum Holdings Limited, has $32 billion in debt, of which 23 billion of that 32 is short-term debt. And you know the difference between short-term and long-term debt? Short-term debt is debt that people want the money now, like tomorrow. Long-term debt is debt that probably is way out. So with falling oil production, falling oil prices, with the fact that they have to pay salaries and make investments and so on in drilling, how is that company going to pay all that debt? So these are critical questions that we have to ask, and these are questions that we think that you all in this part of the country should be aware of, that these things are happening. I see Rudy is rising to my right, and that means that my time is running out. We've also had in this country, and whenever, I will use up my last couple of minutes by saying, whenever I put on the television and I look or I listen to Parliament channel, I always hear my name calling from the government bench, especially when they're debating the economy and they're talking about energy and so on. But I just want to say that under our watch, there was not the closure, we did not have the closure of the ArcelorMittal steel plant. That didn't happen in our time. There was not the closure of 2 methanol plants in Point Lisas. And now we have the closure of the refinery in 2018 and the potential closure of Atlantic LNG Train 1. So what do we do to fix this country? That is, thank you very much, Mr. Russell Chan. What do we do to fix this country? I'll close by saying that 2020 is the most important election of your life. Because if the country does not transform its economy between 2020 and 2025, then the proverbial crapo will smoke our pipe. So we have to transform this economy in that period. Larry made a very important point about mobilizing the energy and the capital and the entrepreneurial spirit of the private sector. That is the solution. That is part of the solution. And the other part of the solution is reducing taxation in Trinidad and Tobago. Because if I lower your tax, you have more money left in your pocket to spend, right? And this is not an idea this idea is coming from our political leader. She said that she has committed that we will reduce corporation tax in Trinidad and Tobago upon assuming office next year. When you reduce corporation tax, companies are incentivized to spend, to invest, to expand, to create jobs. You grow the pie, and there is more for everybody in Trinidad and Tobago. So those are some of the things that we have to do. We have to make it easier. Mr. Russell Chan and Mr. Damian Leider, members of the business community, we have to make it easier, you would agree, to do business in Trinidad and Tobago. We are ranked too low in ease of doing business index. So I want to thank you all for your time tonight. There'll be many more pavement reports. I want to thank your MP. He's a fantastic MP. I think he's a full-time MP. I don't think there's any such thing as a part-time MP, but he's certainly always on the social media, keeping us informed about what's happening in Mayaro. Thank you very much.
Thank you, former Minister of Energy and Energy Affairs, Kevin Ramnarine. And he has rightly said that we have a plan. You have been hearing our political leader, the Monday night forums, revealing our vision for the future development of the country under our National Economic Transformation Plan. Obviously, she cannot reveal everything, but I want to tell you here tonight that you have to have, or continue to have, the faith in our great leader and our party in terms of our vision for the future development of Trinidad and Tobago. Because the next man I am bringing to the platform ensured that there was delivery in terms of the infrastructural development of Trinidad and Tobago, and had a vision of delivering 100 houses on a weekly basis. My brothers and sisters, all the projects that occurred under Kamla Prasad Bisasa and his stewardship at UDCOT was brought in within time and within budget. And the population and you must have the education and the information at your fingertips. Don't let Rowley and the PNM tell you they had the vision for the Arima Hospital. Do not let them tell you that they had the vision for the San Fernando Teaching Hospital and the Point 14 hospital. It was the vision of the partnership government. It was the vision of Kamla Prasad Bisasa. It was the vision of her government under Rudal Munilal to bring about a fire station to Mayaro, which was promised to the PNM since 1962 by the then Prime Minister Eric Williams. Could you put your hands together and bring to the microphone, to the podium, a man who has served the United National Congress at all levels, Dr. Rudal Munilal.
I want to talk about party elites and meet him outside on the pavement. If my colleague from Ojah-Maharaj East want to talk about party elites and meet him outside on the pavement.
We are here. Thank you very much, Chairman. And we took note that the Chairman, former Minister Ramnarine and Attorney Larry Lala all went to the same school. I think when we discovered that the Pandey administration abolished the common entrance. But they are brilliant. They are brilliant sons of the soil. And it is only on a United National Congress platform you could have this caliber of people addressing you. I salute the Member of Parliament for Mayaro, the Honorable Ruston Parry, your hard-working MP, and Mrs. Parry. I salute as well my parliamentary colleagues, Senator Obika, Senator Haynes, Ms. Christine Newallo-Hosein, the former Minister, of course, Kevin Ramnarine, and the local government representatives here. I know we are live on radio, so we salute the national community. We are on the Facebook Live, persons are watching us, so we have to move away from our radio face because we are being seen. So people are looking all over the world at this meeting tonight. So give a lusty round of applause to your MP, your party, your leader. Brothers and sisters, I also have, for the first time maybe in a long time, two of my brothers here, Michael and Renaud. Renaud is from New York and visiting for a few days. We are happy to be in Mayaro, that is now Rambarat free. Finally, Mayaro has one MP. That fella was down here like a vagrant. I think he's now hiding somewhere in Shogunas. But we mentioned agriculture earlier, and after 4 years as Minister of Agriculture, anybody know this fella's singular achievement? You know what it is? He came to Parliament one day with a bill. So when I saw him, I said, well, this is good news, man. Finally, something is happening for that sector. Kevin, the bill was to turn the national flubber from a single Shakonia to a double Shakonia. So I told him he should get the Shakonia medal, if it come to that. But the fella was loitering and all about these areas because they are looking for space. They are looking for political space. And in Trinidad and Tobago today, the PNM and their agents have absolutely no electoral space to get as we go up to the election 2020. Brothers and sisters, the speakers before me told you about Mayaro, the fire station, housing estates in these parts and so on. So much we have done. But today, after 4 years, this country is almost unrecognizable from the paradise that Kamla Prasad Bisasa left. And you all know it more than me, because some of you are more of the victim than I am. This morning or yesterday morning, I can't remember, there was almost a sick joke on radio. Now some of you know, like myself, you will have to. Every morning I have to run in the back and feed the dog. I have 2 dogs. And for good measure, one is a Rottweiler. That's why I just understand how to respond. So every morning I have to feed these 2 dogs. Yesterday morning I dodged in the rain. I put on cap, I put on hat, I put on coat to feed these dogs in the rain and fly back in the house. When I feed the dog, raining bucket a drop. I hear ad from Wassa. Please use water wisely. The dams are at a critical level. Now it is only in Trinidad and only under Blight PNM, Rowley and Lehunt, if I pronounce his name right, It is only under these fellas that it could rain everywhere and flood everywhere except in the reservoir. So you're brixing from water on the road and then you have no water in the tap. That speaks to incompetence. That is incompetence of the highest order, that you spent $245 billion and you cannot provide so simple a necessity as water to your citizens. So if you cannot give water, you can't give nothing else. Forget that. You cannot deal with any problem that this country faces. Brothers and sisters, cricket going on in the Oval tonight. Anybody asks why cricket in the Oval and not at the glorious Brian Lara Stadium? When they came into office, they boast $90 million. They finished in record time, the Brian Lara Stadium. Tonight they're playing cricket in the Oval. Huh? Because Brian Lara Stadium has no accreditation for international matches. Virat Kohli, the #1 batsman in the world, came here. He couldn't play in the Brian Lara. He had to play in the Queen's Park Oval. And they spent $90 million. Udicott advertised in the newspaper. I have it on my phone. Do you know Udicott advertised in the newspaper? Apply quick, write a letter if you want to use the Brian Lara Stadium for any fete and party. It have more party there than it have cricket. And this is after they spent $90 million. It is a disgrace and a shame. For 4 years, the quarreling between Parliament, we cancelled the OPV. OPV was a big large ship and thing to patrol deep sea and so on. They said the partnership cancelled that, and that was bad because it had to deal with crime. You could imagine, well, apart from that, when we cancelled that, Kamla Prasad, Mr. Sanan, Ramlogan and others got back billions of taxpayers' dollars to Trinidad and Tobago when we cancelled that. They were defective. They had a gun that had no bullet or couldn't fire off or something like that. If that OPV was here today, Karai Levine was running on that. Chicken would have been hatching. They would have cattle grazing on that OPV. And if Udicott take it over, they might have OPV fete, breakfast fete on the OPV. That's what they've been doing with it. Because in Calibe, tragically a few weeks ago, the Coast Guard didn't have diesel for a little small boat. Where you think they would have got thousands of gallons of diesel for the OPV? So thank God for the People's Partnership that we cancelled the OPV and saved the money. Brothers and sisters, I'm very happy that Kevin spoke earlier, because I want to continue in that line. Since 2015, brothers and sisters, since 2015, this government has used Petrotrin as a playground for the incompetent to serve the corrupt. That is where the incompetent go to serve the corrupt. It is a playground. You know how it has a children play park? Petrotrin is a playground for the incompetent to serve the corrupt. In 2015, when we demitted office, let me remind you, in 2015, Petrotrin was a viable and robust company by 2015, paying all their taxes, royalties, loans, and other commitments. Between 2010 and 2015, government of Trinidad and Tobago took away $1.1 to $3 billion annually. Every year, the government would make $1 to $3 billion from Petrotrin when we left office. Now you will say, well, them fellas saying that because them was in office. There's a communication from Petrotrin dated 5th March 2018. Imagine 5th March 2018 when the PNM is in power. And it says, among other things, with the exclusion of non-cash accounting adjustments and so on, the loss of Petrotrin amounted to $0.5 million. That's the loss. And here it is. For the fiscal year 2017, the company's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, etc., and cash from operations amounted to $1.3 billion and positive cash inflow of TT $2.5 billion. That was until March 2018. By November they closed down. Why did they close down a company that was giving you billions of dollars every year, employing 5,000 to 6,000 people directly, taking the economy and literally holding up the economy? They cancelled, they closed down because of one thing and one thing alone: fake oil. that if that company remained open and the records and documents and evidence and witness statements were readily available to anyone, you know what happened? This government could fall overnight. And the company closed down, people went on the breadline. They promised the workers, we'll set up small sectors and industries for you. Anything set up? They tell the workers, we'll have a project on the wharf, man. You could go down and sell peanuts and doubles and things down there. Get jobs. Nothing they have done for the workers of Petrotrin. Today, Petrotrin workers have to sell their car, lose their house. The Petrotrin workers. And while they're losing their house, he building one for 18 million in Tobago. A palace. And this is the fella, when they come into office, 2 million for painting, 32 million for Whitehall. You all see him on the front page of the newspaper. He sit down on a desk, they have a pen, a piece of paper, a book. And he sit down working. He alone sit down on this desk working. Brothers and sisters, that is the people. We are dealing with people with imperial tendencies like emperors. But a matter I want to get to quickly is this Heritage Petroleum Company. Recently, Heritage announced that they had hired someone by the name of Arlene Chow as something. But two stories emerge. You see, Heritage sent out a media release and said Arlene Chow appointed interim CEO at Heritage Production. Now we have nothing against Miss Arlene Chow. We don't know this good lady. We cannot say anything bad about her. Some of us don't even know what she look like. In fact, she could be sitting down here now. We don't know her and we say nothing bad about her. It is the process. They announce an interim CEO. But how can you appoint an interim CEO who comes from outside the company? Legal practice and corporate practice is when there's a vacancy, the interim person comes from the layer just below. So it might be a chief financial officer, a chief operating officer, a manager, general manager. And you say, look boys, something happened, we need you to act in this position. And when we fill the position, well, you could go your way, assuming it's not you. That's called an interim. They appear to have recruited an interim CEO from outside. When did you advertise for this? Which firm undertook recruitment? Who interviewed her? When? Where? How? Who interviewed her? How and when? Where? Yeah, they are going to understand that. So, brothers and sisters, where she come from? What is her terms and conditions of work? How much money she making? The fella before named Mike Wiley. It takes $4 million to hire him, $250,000 every month to pay him, and when he gone now, we want him to recover swiftly. $3 million as a parting. All that gone. But this lady, we don't know her terms and conditions, and she's interim. You cannot have an external interim CEO. It is today I spoke to state lawyers who told me that is they cannot have that. That is wrong. It is improper and may possibly be illegal. But if they change it, they're still in trouble. Because in the next brochure now from Heritage, they say, welcome, same lady and so on, Arlene Chow. And we wish to announce that Ms. Arlene Chow is the CEO of Heritage Production. So in the press release, she's the interim CEO. And in the news ad, she's the CEO. What the hell are they really doing? But if she's the CEO, Mr. Wiley's predicament, we only knew of that recently. When did you hire her? What process was used? Who interviewed her to become CEO? That entire process is suspicious. That comes days after a new board is appointed, where the lawyer of the Prime Minister is the chairman. And we spoke about it on a Monday night forum before. It is improper for the Prime Minister to put friends like that, lawyers of his, as chairman of state enterprises. You cannot do that. So the lawyer is the chairman and the golfing partner on the board. Tonight I ask the question, is Ms. Chow reporting to the chairman, Michael Kwamina? In law, the CEO reports to the board, not to a chairman, unless it is an executive chairman. And he is no executive chairman. Is she reporting to the chairman? Is she interim or outerim? That is the problem we face here with disappointment, brothers and sisters. But you see, it is part of something more scandalous. Petrotrin and the descendant companies. I don't like to confuse people with all the different names. They put all them names so we go get tied up. Petrotrin and the descendant companies are in the process of selling off assets. And the usual suspects are salivating at the trough with their tongues hanging out in heat, waiting to grab the assets of Petrotrin. They are waiting. And I call on Rowley tonight and Franklin Khan. Tonight we demand that in the few days you have, in the few hours you have in office left, do not sell one single asset from Petrotrin. Do not sell so much as a big ballpoint pen. All you know is that. Do not sell a ballpoint pen belonging to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Because they will do the same thing that they did before. Enter into $1 billion contract before they demit office. And brothers and sisters, we call upon them to cease and desist from selling off these assets. Otherwise, the next government will have to take that decision, Rudy Singh, and take it to the Third Empire for review. Because the CEO looked like a concussion sub. If all you see what happened to the West Indies weekend, she come in because somebody's sick and she batted. There's a concussion sub. So any decision they take will go to a Third Empire because we will have to review that. And that is serious. They fire Espine. Now I hold no brief for Espine. I don't know the man again, and I don't know if I met him before in life. But they took a loan. You know, when we come in here, and they came into government, they say Petrotrin wasting money, scandalous, losing money. Well, we prove otherwise. When Espine and his board come, they say financial guru. These people bright, man. They restructure and every day things going good. You know what we discovered this year? We discovered recently. In June 2019, they enter into loan arrangements. But loan arrangements need to be registered in the company's registry and in the land registry. And when we look and we search, they took a loan for about 1.3 billion US dollars. And they didn't do it with government guarantee, which is the way normally that would happen. They take all the assets up to the paragraphs by the pond, all the building, all the equipment, everything, they mortgage. So you are the people of Trinidad and Tobago, you no longer have control over those assets. They are mortgaged now to pay the loan that the PNM had from Malcolm Jones' days. You all understand that? So they mortgage all the assets. We do not have hold or control over those assets, and we have to continue paying because Imbert want to boast in Parliament, great financial arrangement, no guarantee needed. They didn't need no guarantee because they go on with all the assets. So brothers and sisters, I know you are excited and you are here to listen to your member of Parliament. So I just end by asking you to be very confident, be very enthusiastic. The UNC is doing a lot. The political leader, the executive and others are working extremely hard to ensure that we will be prepared whenever general election is called, whenever the local election is called. Be strong. And before I leave, I want to tell you, don't take on rumor and old talk and scandal about who to be arrested and who not to be arrested and so on. Every Monday morning you hear this one to be arrested, that one to be arrested. That is for you to lose confidence. That is a form of terrorism that they are using now in this country. And be very wary of that. They know everybody to be arrested, but they didn't know Marlene to be arrested. So thank you all very much, and God bless you and have a wonderful evening.
Once again, let's hear it for Dr. Rudal Munilal. My brothers and sisters, the PNM cannot change its DNA. You hear shame and scandal under Espine. Shame and scandal, whether it's corruption, nepotism, under Kwamina. We don't know what is the compensation package for Ms. Chow. If Ms. Chow gets severance, we want to know what is the cost to the taxpayers of Trinidad and Tobago as the interim CEO. and it had a lady by the name of Lisa Ali operating at Petrotrin. We don't even know how much she collected because they are operating under secrecy, clandestine manner, and that is the nepotism and legacy of the PNM, my brothers and sisters. We need the only natural disaster the people need to rescue Trinidad and Tobago from is the government of Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley and the PNM. My brothers and sisters, it had a fella by the name of Clarence Ramnarine who was squatting in Mayaro, and in fact, he has been a colossal failure. Anyway Parry was going, the fella walking in the shadows of Parry because he could not have created an identity of his own. Well, imagine, he's the same fella say if he get licks in Mayaro, he go in Canada. He go in Canada. And imagine as the Minister of Agriculture, he professed, I think they say, born somewhere around Bucket Corner or somewhere around here. As the Minister of Agriculture, not 1 mile of access road paved in Mayaro, not 1 plot of state land granted to farmers in Mayaro. The fella didn't even know how to open a fishing port, whether it's the Galeota Fishing Complex, the Ottawa Fishing Facility, and the contempt they have treated you with, that whilst we built the Mayaro Fire Station and so on, the government of Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, after spending $245 billion in 4 years, cannot operationalize the Mayaro Fire Station up till today. So whether it is Mayaro or in Chaguanas East or wherever they put him, Clarence Ramnarine, I don't know if he go in Canada or which part of the globe after the general elections of 2015, where he will get the greatest political quotas of his political tenure and existence in Trinidad and Tobago. My brothers and sisters, we have arrived at the point where you want to hear your Member of Parliament, a man who is an entrepreneur from what you know about him, an owner of Computer Technologies and Services Limited, again homegrown entrepreneurial spirit and development, involved in the field of information technology for the last 25 years, happily married to Mrs. Parry and the father of 3 children, a man who has been in the service of the people of Mayaro for the last 4 years, your Member of Parliament who will ensure that the PNM cannot set foot in Mayaro. Welcome, the Honorable Rushton Parry.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for that lovely introduction. I just hope my wife agrees with you and she's as happy as I am. Let me first start as I stand last in the batting order. And you know, sometimes when you're last in the batting order and your name doing bravo, you might be in trouble sometimes being last. But I'll give it my best shot after having sat and listened for the last hour and some change to a better and the best batting lineup you will ever find in the politics of Trinidad and Tobago. I want to tell them thank you for accepting my invitation to come up to Mayaro tonight to share their perspectives and their views on how this Keith Rowley government is running this country, and to give you the assurance that when the next election is called, whether it is local or general, the United National Congress under Kamla Persad will be successful. Before I dive into my very short presentation this evening, I want to ask these 2 young ladies to stand. Ms. Ronelle Kisoon and Ms. Candice Dyer, stand. These are our 2 young gladiators who are going to take Mayaro, Guayari, and Kokal Mafikin away from the hands of the People's National Movement. So please, give them a round of applause and give them your undivided support going forward into our election. Thank you very much, ladies, and all the best for the election. Thank you. I want to just say a quick word about my colleague, my good friend, Senator Ramnarine. I know Dr. Munilal would have spoken about him, and I'm a bit disappointed he's not here in Mayaro anymore. Because, you know, the man run, and all he has met so far is the lamb. He hasn't met the lion as yet. And if he had to meet the lion, well, I know where this fellow would have gone. But be that as it may, brothers and sisters, a lot have been said this evening. I will not want to reiterate a lot of the points that have been made. But as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, as somebody who has invested heavily, privately, in my business in the community, I am concerned. I am concerned because as your member of parliament, I see the numbers, I see the figures, and I have the unique perspective of seeing it from both sides, from on top and at the bottom. And it is not a nice place to be. And the only way to change direction in this country is to vote out the Keith Rowley government. There is no two ways about it. And the time will present itself. The time will come. And when the agents of the PNM come to you, as my colleague Anita said, ask them, have your life improved? Tell them, did my life improve over the last 4 years? And if the answer is no, ask them politely, offer them some rainwater in an enamel cup, and send them home. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in indeed difficult times. Everybody here knows the famous story about this ship called the Titanic, and we all know how it sank. It hit an iceberg. But do you know the real cause that ship sank? It wasn't the iceberg, no. There was a fella they called Captain. Listen, 7 warnings. Ship up and down the place, safe partner, where you going? You can't go there, it have iceberg. And because of arrogance and incompetence, Mr. Captain carried the ship in the route it was going, hit an iceberg, and all 3,000 people, some number like that, end up at the bottom of the ocean. Ladies and gentlemen, the issue for us here in Trinidad is we have a prime minister, we have a government, we have a cabinet that is arrogant. We sit in parliament, we sit as opposition, and we give ideas. Bills come before parliament, we give suggestions to the Attorney General, we give suggestions to colleagues opposite with the interests of Trinidad and Tobago, and they refuse. They refuse because of the arrogance, because of this attitude that they will win alone, they will lose alone. But it's Trinidad and Tobago. And we take the approach in the United National Congress under the kind heart of a leader, Kamala Prasad Bisesa. We take that into the parliament and we try to help steer this country, and they refuse because of the arrogance. Ladies and gentlemen, as a businessman, there is something called the Standards and Poor Report. We have dropped what has taken this country 10, 15 years to grow. It took them just 4 short years to mash it up. And when we get these international ratings dropping, it means our cost to borrow is more. When we can't borrow money cheaply to invest, to create new jobs and so on, it affects you. It affects you, it affects your children, the ability to earn a living. And these are the issues that we will correct when we assume office in December 2020. Brothers and sisters, just last week there's a report that came from a group called the Economic Commission that said that Trinidad and Tobago was the only country in the region that did not grow in foreign direct investment. Nobody wants to invest in Trinidad and Tobago. Why? Because of the incompetence, because of the arrogance of a prime minister and a minister of finance who know it all. So nobody wants to come and talk to these fellas. And when foreigners, when our multinational companies cannot invest and they're not interested in investing money in this country, then it means that your children, my friends who are attached to the Galeota Point area, who work in the energy sector, they have no new business. And when there's no new business, there's no food on the table for your children. And that is not where we want to be, ladies and gentlemen. That is something that we have to reverse. As you would have read on the newspaper, we have had retrenchment over the last 30 days. There is a plan to remove over 300 workers at Unilever. Yesterday, I think this week, UTT lost 200 employees. But I want to tell you about what is important with Unilever. For those of you who don't know what that company does make or sell, the two flagship products for Unilever is soap powder, Breeze, and margarine, Blue Band margarine. Breeze is what everybody does use to wash their clothes, manger the baratan sometime. And margarine is the last resort. When you have nothing else to eat, you put it between two slices of bread. And if that company has registered a $60 million loss in 4 years, you tell me how people can buy Breeze and margarine? That is the state of our country. That is what the PNM has driven this country to, where poor people in this country can't buy margarine. And that is how you read the information. That is how you read between the lines when you see this on the newspaper. That is not something. This government has tried to talk about six pillars. All have failed. Dragon gas failed. Sanders failed. The NIF bond where we borrow money from ourselves, that failed. The buying ferries failed. They had 2 more coming. That go fail as well. We're talking about this elaborate write-up, which was our plan. And from as far as I hear, that too on the route to failing as well. I know Dr. Munilal talked about Petrotren, well, colossal failure, but that failure hurt more because it put about 20,000 families out of jobs. And that is something that would have never happened under the leadership of Kamla Prasad Bisesa and United National Congress. Keith Rowley, Dr. Rowley as leader, as Prime Minister of this country, this man is such a failure. He's making the West Indies look good. I mean, look at the performance this weekend. And they're still performing better than Dr. Rowley and this government. Brothers and sisters, I agree that there are a lot of things that the government has no control over, like energy prices. But the problem in Trinidad and Tobago is not the lack of oil or gas and its prices, it's the lack of brains from an incompetent and a blundering government and a blundering Minister of Energy. You heard you heard the quality of our Minister of Energy. You be the judge on your own. It's really a lack of vision, it's a lack of leadership, and that must be corrected sooner than later. It's not that we are suffering from not having enough resources enough. We're just suffering from too much, Keith Rowley, and we need to reduce it. Reduce it by any means possible. Call that election now. Ladies and gentlemen, the only way that we can avoid this catastrophic path that we are on is to fire this government. Fire this government sooner or later and return leadership of this country to Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Brothers and sisters, I just want to touch on a few Mayaro issues very, very quickly. All of you know that I grew up in Guayagua here. My navel string is buried in Mayaro here. My business, my family, my children. I have a stake in this community. I have a stake that I have a passion to make sure that we stay, finish the job, fix what we have to fix. And it gives me the greatest of pleasure to represent you, the people of Mayaro, in the Parliament every time I walk through those doors. But, you know, for 1 minute, Mayaro as a constituency is like a little model of Trinidad and Tobago. We have every creed, race, religion. We have, you know, intellectual people, academic. We have the fellows who struggle. We have the worker. We have a full mix. And if you want to see how Keith Rowley treats Trinidad and Tobago, just look at Mayaro. Because we are a little model. And imagine for months, up to today, I still have people asking me, Parry, when we getting water from Wassa? Oh my God, water issues. Dr. Munilal talk about this place. I mean, this government have to be so blind. Look at rain today. When the lady called the company, I said, Tanti, you put out 2 barrels rain falling today, you know. That is what we have to do. After the partnership government banished barrel from the history of Mayaro in 4 years. Drive to Mayaro, barrel all over the side of the road. We have regressed under this government. That is not what we want, my brothers and sisters. Imagine a lady, a pensioner, had to come to me and say, MP in the office, MP, I could get $200 to go and buy some food because I take my pension money to pay for some water the other day. That is what we can't deal with. That is what we have to change. That is why we need to move this government out of the administration of the affairs of this country. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, there are issues with the roads. I can tell you, I wish the Minister of Works could go buy some property in Mayaro so you have a reason to fix the Naparima Mayaro Road. For those of you who came here tonight, I am pity, I am sorry that you would have had to take that brutality to come down this road. But we're going to fix it. We will fix it. And you know, people tell me that, well, Pariolo was in government for 5 years. Well, didn't fix it. The truth is, Dr. Surjatan Rambatan started to fix that road. That road was repaired from Princestown to Tableland. And when we demitted office, nothing was done. It's only the other day, election time coming. So patch road, left is right in retail coming down the road. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at a real crossroad in the history of this country. It's either we continue on the path that we're going with this Keith Rowley administration, or you stand with us. Stand with your members of parliament, stand with your local government representatives, your candidates, stand with the United National Congress, and let's put an end, a political end, to the government led by Dr. Keith Rowley. And finally, I want to remind Dr. Rowley and his government of something that Mahatma Gandhi said when the British arrested him for sedition. You cannot stop an idea whose time has come. Ladies and gentlemen, they could arrest Sat, they could arrest Watson, they could arrest Devant, they could arrest me, they could arrest everybody on the stage. But the fact is, they cannot arrest the idea that the Keith Rowley government is done and it's over. They can do what they want, but they can't change that. So my friends, do not despair, do not be fearful. A new day will be here soon. Soon, the rising sun of the United National Congress will shine on our land once again, bringing back hope to our country. Brothers and sisters, long live Trinidad and Tobago. Long live the political leader Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Long live the United National Congress. God bless everyone, and thank you again to my chairman, to my guests, to you, the folks who have braved the weather to come to this pavement report tonight. Thank you very much, and I will continue to serve you to the best of my abilities as long as you give me a chance. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rushton Barre, a man of the soil, a man who is committed to the development of Mayaro, and his commitment and his resolve has clearly stated here tonight that he is moving from Mayaro and he is going no part of Trinidad and Tobago like Clarence Rambarad. The biggest blight is the PNM and Dr. Keith Rowley. Imagine rain falling all over Trinidad, but it can't find its way into the dams and our reservoirs, and people have to be paying for water $3,000. That is what you want. That is what you want to continue with, my brothers and sisters. Have faith. Time longer than twine, and the writing is on the wall that the next government of Trinidad and Tobago will be the United National Congress. Your next Prime Minister, Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Long live the United National Congress and our political leader, as I take the opportunity to invite a Mayaro contingent to join us at the Eco Park in St. Helena this coming Monday, when the political leader and the bandwagon of the United National Congress will roll in to the constituency of Caroni East under the Member of Parliament, Dr. Tim Gopi Singh. I thank you.
Your vote can foretell our country's fate. Move and use it well before it's too late. If it is that who you're voting, fail beyond a doubt. When you're voting, vote them out. Vote them out. If it is the prove
So here we have it, folks, from the constituency of Mayaro. UNC Livestream will be moving to the constituency of Caroni East next week, Monday. So join us there for that live broadcast.